What's up, guys? From fight to fortune, where high performers meets freedom. I'm Claudia Gadelha, and today we will dive deep into the mindset, strategies, and tools that transform athletes and entrepreneurs into champions. And today we're joined by Leticia Ribeiro, 9 times BJJ world champion, a good friend of mine, good business owner, and I'm so curious about your life. I'm so curious about all your success. And when I was first thinking about doing this podcast, I was thinking about the people that I wanted to start with. And you are one of them because I'm so curious about everything you have built in your life. You built so many champions, a very successful life. And I know a lot of people are very curious about what you do because you have had so much success in the world of jiu-jitsu, so much consistency, so much discipline, and I think that's what builds great champions. So I have good questions for you today, and thank you for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. I'm really happy that you choose me to be here. And I'm excited.
Cool. Okay, so my first question is, Leticia, like I said, you built so many BJJ legends like Bia Mesquita and so many others. You built so many good people as well, right? You started training girls in a very young age and built them all the way up to not only being champions in jiu-jitsu, but also champions in life. And I'm all about that. And I'm very curious about what do you think that separates good and great? What is it that make you people so good at what they do, having you as a coach?
Yeah, first of all, I think one really important thing, and to be a leader, is to lead by example. So since the beginning of my career, I was the one that as soon as I figure out and I started to say, oh, I want jiu-jitsu for my life. I want to be a world champion. And then I have goals and to reach, and first of all, be a world champion, then open my academy, and then made a world champions too. So I did these back to back, and I think lead by example and show them how to do was really important, especially I think Bia was the first one and was really easy, process for us too, because she saw everything that I was doing, and training and my focus and discipline, and she just followed the process. So I think for me, and for the athletes too, what separate the good from great is it's simple way of explain that is somebody tell you to do 10 push-ups, you do 15. I think this is a really easy way. So I always do more. I always want more. I always set goals that you reach one goal, you already have another goal behind it. So I think that's a simple way of explaining that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the first thing I get from you is that, and this is in the Bible, you can't give what you don't have. And I see you did yourself first. You became a champion yourself first. And then you said, oh, now I can lead others to do the same because I know the path. Yeah. I know the way, right? And this is in the Bible. This is a very beautiful lesson. And the other thing I hear from you, it's something that I have always done in MMA. I remember winning fights and my teammates wanting to go party, the ones that when I look at their lives today, they didn't do very well because they were always choosing to go party, to go drink after fights. And even when they traveled with me for my fights, and I was like, no, I don't want to go party. I don't want to go do anything that will take away from my health and my performance because I want to go train tomorrow. And they're like, oh, but it's just one day. And then in my mind, it was one day that would put me back from the things I was trying to achieve in fighting. So that's a good, really, really good lesson. Thank you for that.
And another thing too, sometimes, we have a world championship was the main goal and today, and thank you God that the sport is growing so much and we have many tournaments, and the athletes can focus on many things. But before, back then, World Championship was the main goal for all of us, you know. And then I remember being a world champion one time, it's already hard. So being a world champion 9 times, 5 times, 4 times, 10 times, you know, it's another level of this achievement, you know. So, and then I remember, you know, like when I fought world championship, I was already thinking about the next year.
I know.
And I think that's the patch that you get, and it's just keep it going, you know. And when I decided to stop fighting, and when I opened my academy, and then I already have my goal of making more world champions, you know, and lead the girls. We have the girls there in our program. They are since 5 years old, you know, some 3 years old. And today they are teenagers, you know, it's still there in the program, training, competing, you know, and just follow us, you know, and what we did, you know, they just do the same, you know, and it works.
Mm-hmm. So good, so good. Thank you for the lesson. You know, when I look at life in general, right, like, I think one of the best things I did in my career was to translate the skills I learned in fighting to business. When I understood that high performance is one thing that you can use for anything you want to build, and actually Dana White, when I decided to retire, I had a conversation with him, and he said, with the way that you were built, you can literally do anything you want. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, I don't know about that. I only know how to fight, you know. And of course, I went to law school, and I started learning about finances and business very early in my career, because I was so afraid of losing the money I made in fighting. I was so afraid of going back to Mosoro and living in poverty. So that led me to study. But when Dana told me that, I was like, I don't know if I really can translate the skills I learned in fighting to anything else I want to build, you know. But today I can feel that. It's literally, it feels like cheating, because fighting and combat sports teach you so many high performance skills that just puts you in a whole different level than most people around you. So when I look at you know, people trying to achieve things and focusing on, in fighting and in business, you know, focusing on the physical part and focusing on being hands-on and doing a lot of the groundwork and not really focusing on the mind, that makes me kind of like trying to understand what the difference is. I used to talk about this all the time with my teammates at Novo Union, that I think the mindset in fighting is 80%, and 20% is the physical aspect of fighting. But we see in business so many people trying to do everything and not delegate and not really have a plan. And I'm curious on your perspective, how much you think mindset is important for high performance in general?
I think it's a really important thing in a mindset, you know, think positive and think that, again, you know, reaching your goals, you know, and how much you want. You know, this is something that's really important. You really want that, go to get this, you know, and I think that's everything, you know. So I think the mindset, it's, you said, you know, 80%, you know, and of course you have to train and dedicate yourself for that, but I think if you have a good mindset, you can reach everything in life, you know. We know that.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. You know, I want to kind of touch on this, because we see so many athletes kind of losing themselves after they retired from their athletic career, and we see some that goes into depression and others that lose their identity and they eventually go back to the sport. We see that in MMA all the time. The dopamine in MMA is so addicting, and also the money, because you learn one way of making money, which is fighting, then you don't let it go. You see so many fighters doing this, and you know, a lot of people are talking about Amanda Nunes now, that I saw Renato Moicano saying that he doesn't agree with the reason why she's going back to the sport, to because she's saying that she wants to prove a point, but she already built a legacy,
Yeah.
right? Like, so Moicano was talking about that, and I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. But also, like, she retired young and didn't need the money anymore, right? But there's like the addiction, I think. You know?
Yeah.
There's the addiction, and I'm just curious, like, two things. The first one, there are athletes that completely lose themselves and go into depression, and others that don't lose themselves, but they still think that they are that identity, and they always go back to that identity and keep going back to that identity. What do you say that happens?
You know, one thing that for me, was something that I always thought about that, and this is what I pass. I told the Bia many times that, and the other students that I have another girls that follow my path too, And I think it was exactly what we talked before. It's always have a goal after, So we start my career. I want to be a Jiu-Jitsu world champion. I want to be an athlete, But then that time, I was already thinking about my next step, which was teaching. And I said, okay, after I finish my career, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna open my academy. Back then, Claudinha, was the only way to make money. And today I see things like that too. After you stop fighting, if you still want to be involved with fight, you have to be open academy and be a teacher. Like, you don't have to, but it's the easy way. So I think that, and then so a lot of people, they stop fighting and then they think, wow, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do? I have the money, but what am I gonna do? The fight being without meaning, So I think you have these goals, and a lot of people, they stop and competing, but then they didn't prepare themselves to be a teachers. Mm-hmm. This is really important. You cannot become a teacher from one day to the other day, This is a process as well, So I did a physical education. I did university in Brazil, because I was already thinking about my next step after I stopped fighting. And I think this is important, you just set your goals, step by step and see, I'm already thinking, oh, what am I gonna do when I stop teaching, So I think that's the key,
Yeah. I love that, and there's actually a really good study that talks about people that can see themselves in the future, just like you were saying. They have a way better relationship with making good decisions, with the people they keep around them, with what they do on a daily basis. And I love that idea that you were teaching now of, like, always have a goal after the goal you have now, because then you're always working towards
something. Yeah.
And that leads us to, like, a follow-up question that I see, and I'm sure you see this all the time in Jiu-Jitsu. I have seen people changing their lives through Jiu-Jitsu just by thinking about that. Oh, I started training Jiu-Jitsu, but I didn't do good today. I will make sure I am eating better, not drinking, not partying, so I can do better tomorrow. And I've seen, a good friend of mine lost 40 pounds and got promoted at his job and started operating a whole different level because he started training Jiu-Jitsu. And he had to get better at Jiu-Jitsu by not drinking, not partying, not eating junk food, because he wanted to do well in practice so he could do well in competition. And that led him to stop drinking alcohol, and he was like a functional alcoholic for his whole life. And that's when I really saw the power of Jiu-Jitsu and of having a goal. I'm pretty sure you saw a lot of that happening, and one of our goals in the UFC with the whole Jiu-Jitsu strategy in the UFC is that more people learn about Jiu-Jitsu, and more people understand that this art is kind of like a therapy that can change your life. What would you say for a business owner, a CEO that is kind of wanting to try Jiu-Jitsu but hesitating on it because they don't understand what it is?
One thing that I used to say, and I talk with my students there, I have a lot of people that they are older, and they start jiu-jitsu older. At my gym now, we have a lot of moms and daddies that they are training to, we just have to start, and the process, if you are competing or not, but the process of training every day change your life already, because this is exactly what you said, you want to eat healthy because it's going to be better for the training. You want to sleep early because you're going to wake up early to train, So the process of competition even more, because everything you do and during the training, that involve training and performance better, gonna make your life better, So I think you just have to start, and set your goals, and maybe everybody trains jiu-jitsu for different reasons, So, and then you see your reason and say, oh, I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu to be healthy. I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu because I want to be a champion. And set your goals, and just start. It's a great sport, to change everybody's life. We know that.
Yeah.
Change mine, change yours.
It sure
Yeah.
change our lives. I think, if it wasn't jiu-jitsu, I joke about this all the time, but I would probably be a drug dealer.
No.
Or something pretty bad, because where I'm from, there's no opportunities. Like there's nothing to do. I'm from the middle of nowhere. My sisters kind of found their way out of Mosoro as well, but I'm like, my brother spent 10 years in jail, and I was really good friends with him. We had a really good relationship, and
He was older. He was
1 year younger than me, and we were always doing things together. And when we were doing bad things, we were doing bad things together as well, But Jiu-Jitsu showed me the path. It showed me the way, And unfortunately, not unfortunately, I sometimes, I look back and I think about Jiu-Jitsu didn't have a really good path to build a career like MMA had when I started, So then I had to go and migrate to MMA to be able to build a career, because I did not want to be broke. I was so afraid of being broke and going back to Mosoro. But today we do have opportunities.
But for me, it was a little bit different because my generation is even a little bit before you, And
10 years, right?
Yeah, 10 years before, right?
So you started in 1995?
Yes.
I started in 2005.
In your time, and MMA was going, I don't know, maybe I would be an MMA fighter too back then, but in my time, was a world champion, what we thought about, being a world champion and moving to America. I already had this plan, since the beginning, because it was what was happening with Leka was the first girl, that I look up, and then that happened with her, and I thought gonna happen with me too, So that was the way to do jiu-jitsu and to be successful in the sport back then, in my time.
Was it the Gracies that it started coming here, and then everybody saw the path?
Yeah. The Gracie family they were the first one, or they started to teach at their garages, on their house, and then was when everything started, You start with UFC 1, Royce Gracie, and boom, And then we especially us, we was inside of the Gracie Academy in Brazil, and we thought about to do the same thing, We all thought about the same thing,
Wow.
And I say, I just gonna follow them, And for me, it was easy too, because I have a good leader too, And I saw Roller doing everything, and I just follow, just wanna be, And being a woman was not that easy, But as I said, I never have doubts about myself, about what I could do. I set my goals, and seeing him being a world champion, I say I want to be a world champion too, So I think we talk about leadership before, and I think it's good to see somebody reaching their goal and be successful in something, you feel capable too, And I say I just gonna do the same, It's easier.
Yeah, it's so important to have a leader around you. To like when I look back, I had the opportunity to spend 10 years at Nova União watching André Pederneiras and José Aldo, and José Aldo was my role model in fighting. I would copy even literally the way he fights.
Yeah.
But also André, he fought for the UFC, but he would go back home, go back to Rio from the fights with the competitors, with fighters, and he would get all the money he would take from the fights, from his cut, and he would invest to the point where, like, when I got there, he had one building. When I left, he had, like, the whole street. It was like, he had 4 buildings for the gym, and then a supplement store, and then the parking lot in the back. He bought the parking lot, and then he bought a big gym on the other street. So I'm like, this guy is literally buying assets from every money he gets from fighting, you know? And when I started thinking about my path, you know, when I look back, I had exposure to that because I watched him doing it, you know, and I did the same thing too. That's so good, Leticia. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
It make it easy a little bit, you know, like to have it and similar people doing similar things for what you're looking for around you, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you know, I want to touch on the opportunities we have in Jiu-Jitsu now, right? Because like you said, when you started, you were the first generation of women in Jiu-Jitsu. We had that path. You got to become a world champion, go to America and open an academy. And then later, we had seminars, selling instructionals, and then later MMA, and then later now you can have the courage to go fight MMA, right? And then today we also have Jiu-Jitsu in the UFC. Like, how crazy and amazing is for you to watch the generations going by and you seeing the transition of the sport, the innovation, the development of the business of Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, for me it's amazing, you know, like, and my main goal, you know, of course, when I came to America for the first time, you know, my main goal was compete. You know, the first time that I came was to compete Panams. Words was still there in Brazil, you know, and then I competed a couple Panams here, and then Words came, and then I decided to move, you know. I moved together with the World Championship to America. I saw everything happening, you know. All the divisions, you know, that when they split the divisions in Brazil, the women's division was just 2 women's division in the beginning, and then the sports start to grow. And then when I started to teach the seminars here, you know, I was the first woman and to teach seminars here and do camps, women's only, here in America. I started that. And then we did a couple, and then I used to say it for them, and I said, man, my main goal today, of course, I still compete, I still train, compete, and my goal was to be a champion, but my main goal was to develop the sport and to make the sport grow, the women's here in America, you know, the women's category. So that was my main goal, you know, and I think I'm happy that I did it. I was part of that, and I work a lot for this. And today, seeing you know, and doing this for our sport, you know, I'm really happy to be here, to be part of that, and see this generation so lucky, you know, for what we have been doing all over these years, you know. But I'm really happy to see the sport and to see the UFC BJJ now, you know, all this progress, you know, and just being here, and it's amazing, you know. I think, you know, it's the mindset that we talk, but it's always want more, you know. I think for me, you know, wants more, and one really important thing too, you know, Claudia, and a lot of people, they give up when sometimes they are almost there, you know. And I think the definition of greatness, you know, it's do with love, you know, do what you want with love, you know, and make the things perfect, you know, do more than you need to do, you know, and dedicate yourself, discipline, you know. And I think all of these qualities, you know, and needs to be together for you to be great in something, you know, can be in the sport, So I think if we put it, it's a lot of things that you need, you know, but if you put these things together, but the most important thing, you know, do with love. You know, I think love what you do. It's something that it make the whole difference, you know. And I think that's the definition, you know. And for the ones that sometimes they don't reach their goals, and it's a lot of times is because they quit when they were almost there, you know. So don't give up. Keep it going, you know. Even sometimes it doesn't have impossible, right? I don't see nothing possible. So I think that's a really good thing too, you know. So never give up on your dreams. Always moving forward, set new goals in your life, you know, and I think you're going to be successful.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, you know, for everything you do, and thank you for being here today with me.
Thank you.